I thought I would share my to be read pile with you. I saw one on Instagram the other day and it sort of inspired me to give it a go. So here is the physical to be read pile. I've set the rule for myself that I cannot add anything to the to be read pile or read anything else until I've cleared the pile. Starting off, we have a book that covers the lives of many mystics and visionaries and sort of discusses the visionary and mystical experience from a Western Christian perspective, although there are some Orthodox and Eastern Christian perspectives in here as well. It covers them through a series of case studies in the actual people themselves, setting them up into different sort of groups. So you have like the desert mystics, you have preachers and poets, mystics from the Rhineland, English mystics, just all sorts of different mystics basically. And the writer, who is a poet, was inspired to write the book because of his own mystical experience when he was younger and had a period of illness in which he developed a kind of natural, untrained meditation practice and prayer practice, and then had this incredible mystical experience, and he sort of spent the rest of his life trying to explain and understand it. And this is one of the ones that I've actually started already. I'm about 50 pages in and I'm really enjoying it, and it is called Dazzling Darkness by James Harper, with the tagline, The Lives and Afterlives of the Christian Mystics. He was recently on the Hermetics podcast as well. I'd highly recommend listening to that interview, and that was what inspired me to buy the book. So these first few books are books that I've already started, so I'm sort of clearing the deck of those first. And this is a book that I tried to start several times and have really struggled to, and I've actually started a series of short form videos in which I read the book chapter by chapter so that I can actually make content about the writer and his other works. It is, of course, The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, this is a first edition copy of the Silmarillion that I am selling. You see it has the nice blue top edge from George Allen and Unwin. So I'm going to put that down very carefully here. That is not my reading copy. My reading copy, this is my notebook for the Silmarillion. This is my reading copy here. And yeah, so check out the channel. There's loads of Silmarillion videos at this point, and even a pronunciation video that I needed to start. And I actually have not made a video about reading the Silmarillion since doing the pronunciation video, so we shall see if any of the lessons have stuck. Now, next up is another one I have a nice copy for sale in the bookshop that I have started as well, and I am not reading this very lovely copy. I'm reading another one. It is a 1980s fantasy work. It's about how mythology lives within us through story and through imagination, and it takes that idea very literally in the form of the Mythargo Wood, which is the name of the story. Obviously this one does not have the title on the cover, but my reader copy does. This is a very, very, very nicely printed masterpieces of fantasy, leather-bound, Eastern Press, limited edition, signed introduction copy that I have for sale in the bookshop. But this one I'm about 60 pages in and I've really been enjoying it. It's got this like folkloric horror vibe that I really enjoy. I've stopped and started it a couple of times, as with a few of the books on this list, but I want to finish it, and I have been enjoying it, but it's just, other things get in the way, as I'm sure you can understand. And now I believe this is the last of the ones that I've actually already started, and this is the one I'm closest to finishing. This is a topic that I found really interesting for a long time. I'm not going to do a long introduction. I'm just going to say this is The Way of the Sufi by Idris Shah. And it has a good introduction into what Sufism is, according to Shah. It then goes on to quote loads of different Sufi masters. And there's a sort of fable, aphorism-heavy element to it. But it does also have just like details about the history and the practice of Sufism and its influence on almost every form of mysticism and occultism and spirituality and religion, really. It does a good job of sort of explaining how influential it's truly been and how sort of under-acknowledged it is outside of Islam. But yeah, I've been really enjoying that. That's going to be the first one I cross off, I reckon, because I am nearly finished with it. Now, onto the books I have not even touched yet, not even started. So I've read several non-fiction books and one fiction book by this writer, and I've always really enjoyed it. Again, he's someone who sort of blends the occult with just really good storytelling and history and geography and just all sorts of stuff in his non-fiction. And it is a topic that is dear to my heart because the main subject of the book is buried near to where I grew up. It's just like one of the keystone fascinating figures from the occult history, very influential on modern occult practices. I would say. It is The House of Dr. D by Peter Ackroyd. This would be my third book by this writer, and it sort of plays with some of the themes that we've already had in the pile. Don't know too much about this particular book. I know that I enjoyed the other two that I've read. The first one was just a general autobiography, memoir sort of book, and the second one was a book about Zen Buddhism. And this book is called No Man is an Island by Thomas Merton. I've been really enjoying his writing style and his ability to sort of try and grapple with mystical experience and religious experience in a way that is readable and kind of conceivable, which is something that I find really interesting. And I think, as you can see in my TBR pile, like, it appears a lot, that theme. Now, going in the sort of opposite direction, this is a book I just picked up based on the blurb, really, when I was last in Treadwell's bookshop in London, and which I would recommend that you go to. It's fantastic. But I know that the writer was recently on the Hermetics podcast as well, although I have not listened to that episode yet. I've heard it's good. This is The Devil and His Advocates by Eric Butler. I'll read the blurb. Satan is not God's enemy in the Bible, and he's not always bad, much less evil. Through the lens of the Old and New Testaments, Eric Butler explores literature, theology, visual art, and music from antiquity to the present, discussing canonical authors from Dante to Milton to Goethe, as well as a wealth of lesser-known sources. Since his first appearance in the Book of Job, Satan has pursued a single objective: to test human beings, whose moral worth and piety leave plenty of room for doubt. Satan can be manipulative, but he simply facilitates what mortals have already inclined to do anyway. The devil made me do it does not hold up in the court of cosmic law. With wit and surprising examples, The Devil and His Advocates explains why. With 29 illustrations. Looking forward to getting into that. Next up, we have a book by a writer that I've read, I think, 1.5 other books by. She's an influential painter and occultist, and she's an early example of that kind of nature travel writing where the writer gets in touch with nature in a more spiritual way than just simply describing it or experiencing it as a tourist or anything like that. She has written books about Cornwall and about Ireland, and this is a selection of her shorter writing. It is Medea's Charms by Ithel Colquhoun. A selection of shorter writing is perfect and doable. Next up, we have a book that details, as far as I'm aware, details the practice of an occultist and his research into his patron deity, who he worshipped throughout his whole life. And he did so in the company of one of the most sort of widely known occultists, I would say, practicing, Alan Moore. But it is not by Alan Moore, it is Selene by Steve Moore, published by Strange Attractor Press. And he sort of details the history of worship of this goddess. I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. I feel like a mystical approach to the moon is something that everyone can sympathize with. It's something that is just mundane yet mystical experience that we all have, watching the moon change throughout the cycle. And that mundane mysticism is something that I definitely want to do at least a video on, but explore more. And lastly, we have, it's something that I want to read as part of a general enjoyment of this kind of book, but also as research for a book that I'm writing at the moment or preparing to write, that involves a lot of folklore and a lot of mythology, especially the mythology within the British Isles. So we have Kevin Crossley Holland's Between Worlds, Folktales of Britain and Ireland. And I think, after some of the heavier, sort of more academic books in this pile, this will be a nice relief to have like a story that you can read in one go. Also, it'll be fun to sort of adapt some of the stories to read to my children. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll let you know how I get on with the pile as I go. I'll do probably little short videos about the books as I cross them off and finish them. Let me know in the comments what's in your to be read pile. Would you be adding any of these to your to be read pile? Do you think this is your idea of hell, reading this selection of books? Let me know. And I've been Fool's Journey Books. See you soon.